All right, all right. Hello, all you sports fans out there in podcast land, and welcome once again to another edition of Babbling Brooks, your new favorite podcast, where I, your host Brooks, try to bring you some of today's sports news with just a little twist of my point of view. Hope you all are having a wonderful week so far. You've made it halfway there if you're working a traditional work week, which I guess some people still are. I sure as shit never have. But hope y'all are having a great day. Regardless, the sun is out. It's not storming yet in Atlanta because it's getting destroyed by the storm on, Monday night on the way home from work. Yesterday, I was walking to work. I was about to walk to work, and it started sprinkling. But I was like, you know what? Not going to risk it. Realized a bus was right around the corner. Hopped on that bus. So just did minimal walking, just kind of through like underground Atlanta, or the above portion of underground Atlanta. So one of the things that fascinates me about this city, and I think a lot of it goes back to my first time visiting the city, was 1996, immediately after the Olympics, right before my birthday. So almost exactly this time of year probably. Could have been this exact week. I'd have to look and see when the Braves played the Rockies in 96. But so Olympic Stadium was sitting there. Turner Field had not yet become Turner Field. It was still Olympic Stadium. And I got to see two games in Atlanta, Fulton County Stadium. If I had come 1 year later, I would not have ever gotten to see a game in that stadium. Wish I remembered more specifically. I just kind of remember being in awe because I was several years into my Braves fandom. They had just won the World Series the year before. And I'd only, been to like one other major city. He had been to like Washington. Maybe we went to Nashville before that too. But like Nashville, at that point you would have considered a major city, especially not on the level of Atlanta. And so underground Atlanta had just kind of been fixed up that point and turned into like a cool little mall. I'm sure it wasn't nothing really that special, but it was still cool to me because, seeing, even as a kid, I was super fascinated with history stuff. So like, they had like the original street, allegedly the original street lamp under there, like the original street level of this wonderful city, Atlanta. All right, quick water break already. But yeah, it's just kind of cool. Sometimes you'll be walking around here in different parts of downtown Atlanta and you'll be like, wait, where I'm walking now would have been the middle of the air like 100 years ago. Like where like Hotel Row is near 5 Points over there. You can see that. I was like, man, those buildings, you can almost tell that was like the second level, not the first. In a lot of buildings, you can sort of see that. It's just crazy to think that all these buildings, all these like business owners back in the day, literally just moved their businesses up 1 or 2 stories. And they just, when they built, it was like the Prior Street and the Central Street, like the bridge, the viaducts, the bridges, whatever. Because there were just so many bridges being built that they just, ended up building, connecting them. And that was the new ground level. And you can still definitely see it in some parts of Atlanta. I'm hoping they fully reopen underground. It's supposed to have some stuff in progress with that. I think that would be really cool to see, like, it come back to life. Because it's had different times, like back in the 60s. It was, a sort of like a nightlife spot, Kenny's Alley. They still had, I still remember that stuff being there. It was different in the 90s resurgence. Like, there was a few restaurants. We didn't really go to that part because it was like the nightlife part. But I do remember kind of walking by that street, and that's really the main part that's open of underground now, is sort of like going in from a different angle where the Masquerade is, which is a really, really cool venue. I got to see them at their old venue, which was cool, but now it's like they've been so long in underground, that's just like their home, and it's a cool little spot. Actually, I got to check out a show soon. I believe, was it Bowling Pursuit going to be there with Mest and some people? I need to check that out because they put on a damn good show. Bowling Pursuit does. But anyway, talk about putting on a damn good show. Last night, the Braves finally ending that 3-game losing streak, overcoming a 3-run Pirate first inning to get the W. Finally, 3 long-ass games, it felt like. Feels good to win. We knew, wasn't too concerned 3 games. Honestly, at this point with this team, I'm not going to get too concerned until they hit like a 5-game losing streak, especially at like this time of the year where there's so much. We got like 50-some baseball games left to play, so we got time. I'd rather get the shit out the system now than start sucking it up. September, October, into the beginning of November, which is hopefully when we'll still be playing. That would be really nice. This team, World Series or bust, baby. And a little bit of a scare, but before we get to that, let's talk about some of the good shit. Ronald Acuna Jr., they're getting kind of brushed back on the first pitch of the game. Pitch number 2, he sends it 448 feet for a home run number 26. Just like that, Braves up 1-0. Weren't able to do anything else. That ended up being Ronald Acuna Jr.'s only hit in this game. He ended up having to leave the game in the 6th inning after getting hit right there on the elbow with a 97-mile-an-hour pitch. The good news is X-ray did not show anything, so it's more of a precautionary thing. I would not be surprised, honestly, either way with him. I wouldn't be surprised to give him a day off. But knowing how Ronald Acuna Jr. is and the kind of season he's having, I wouldn't be surprised. He's like, look, y'all, I'm good. I'm ready to play. He's played every single game so far this season. The Braves, setting a mark where they have 4 players who have played, every single game so far this year. Like Acuna, Olson, Riley, and I think always have done it. So that could be in jeopardy. But at the same time, you don't necessarily want to risk it if, it is risky. You don't want to be – you don't want to have him out of the lineup if it's not necessary, but you also don't want to open him up for any more injury risk at this point in the year. With maybe a game off wouldn't be bad for him. But then again, this lineup is not going to be the same. We saw, you get Forrest Wall in to replace him. We're kind of not thin in the outfield, but not as strong as we'd like to be. If we still had Sam Hilliard, I feel like the Braves maybe be a little more comfortable with giving Ronald a day off because Hilliard had a little more experience. But they still do have Kevin Pillar, who ends up with the game-tying hit last night. So maybe he can buy himself a little extra playing time, him and Eddie. Because Eddie, everyone's like, oh, play Kevin instead of Eddie. I'm like, Eddie ain't been sucking. I mean, he's not hitting he's not hitting an MVP, but you can't all do that. You've only got 2 guys hitting an MVP. That's probably enough right now. But either way, we'll have to see. Forrest Wall getting his first 2 at-bats, taking Ronald's place. So he's at his debut because he had been a pinch runner a couple times for the Braves. But this was his first time actually swinging a bat in an official Major League Baseball game. So he started out twice. You can't really read too much into that. It's kind of understandable. First time you face Major League pitching, it is hard. It ain't easy. Shit, I couldn't even hit the damn ball against Little League pitching, back in the day. So it's tough. So maybe he gets another chance to do something. But either way, the fact that the X-ray is negative is very good news because I was working. So I came out and then I thought I saw in the closed captioning, I'm like, wait, did they say Ronald left the game? What? So then I had to look into that and figure it out, saw the replay, and I was like, oh, okay. But then when I got the notification ESPN that X-rays were negative, that made you feel just really good. I felt like we dodged a bullet because that would be terrible, man. Just like 2021 when he got hurt, which that was much earlier on, but still. This is an MVP type season. There's only 1 or 2 other guys in the National League. And one of them is teammate Matt Olson. The other is former teammate Freddie Freeman. Those are the only other guys in this conversation, unless Luis Arraez somehow hits 400. I just don't see that happening anymore. Hadn't really been hearing as much talk out of him. But I feel like it's Ronald Acuna Jr.'s award to lose this year. So, he's not going to be trying to miss any time. I feel like that wouldn't surprise me. That affects how insistent he is on playing. Because he knows Freddie is catching up with him. Freddie's doing a lot of, he don't have the same stolen base numbers, obviously, but, driving in more runs, which part of that, obviously, is going to be where you're in the lineup. Because Ronald Acuna, it's great to hit a leadoff homer, but there's not going to be anybody on base in the first inning if you're hitting first. Duh, that kind of shit. So that leads to, I still think Ronald is the favorite. And I hope, hopefully he doesn't miss any time. But you'd rather him miss a game now if he has to than it affect him negatively down the stretch of this very incredible season that he is having. So that'll be kind of walking that line. So, I trust Brian Snitker to make the right decision because damn it, he usually seems to. Just all those years in the minor leagues, just giving him an extra third, fourth, fifth sense, whatever, when it comes to what to do baseball decision-wise. It's not always going to work out, but that's the breaks. Shit. That's how shit is. That's life. It's not always going to work out, but just feel like he's making the best, informed decision he could make just with all those years in the minor leagues. I think just make him such a damn good major league manager because he's just so used to making adjustments on the fly, just playing with whoever he has. He's been around so many different players over the years, so many different types of personalities. It just feels like he could probably relate to almost anybody, even with a huge age difference, and that's a huge thing in any of these professional sports. One way or another, baseball is not as physical as football, or even basketball sometimes, most of the time. But you still, you're putting your body on the line one way or another. So to have a coach, a manager that you feel is in your corner, you feel that understands you, and it's someone that you want to put yourself on the line for, that is very important. I think that is one thing that they have in Brian Snitker. And, of course, the Braves, it was really exciting. Home run, Ronald Acuna. Yonny making his third start as an Atlanta Brave after we claimed him off of waivers from them Tampa Bay Rays. A little bit of a rough start, but give the kid credit. He worked through it for the most part. That 3-run homer by Hayes there in the bottom of the first. So they answered with an even bigger homer than ours because they had guys on base for it. So just like that, the excitement of the leadoff homer, the 1-zip lead is gone, evaporated just like fucking that. It's, not looking good. But give Yonny credit. He doesn't give anything else up. For 2 more innings, he has a scoreless second, a scoreless third inning before the Braves come out there and tie it up. It's keeping him in it. Travis d'Arnaud was 3 of 5 in this game. All 3 hits were doubles. You gotta love it. Travis d'Arnaud getting the start in this game for Sean Murphy, tying the game up in the third with a 2-run double. Braves tie it back up, not letting the Pirates build on too much, which was good because the Pirates immediately after that 3 more homers. Thankfully, they were all solo shots. No more 3-run homers, but still. In the fourth, Rivas hit 1. In the 5th inning, they had Palacios and Reynolds both hitting home runs. So there goes the tie, 6-3. So, Yonny only giving up home runs, it feels like, in this game. He ends up, 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. So you like that ratio. Anytime you can double up the strikes on the walks, that's a good thing. And 4 home runs, though, so almost as many home runs as strikeouts. But like I said, most of them, all but one of them were solo shots, so that kind of limits the damage. But still concerning. I still believe Soroka is going to get a chance to compete with Yonny for that final spot in the rotation, especially coming up. All these extra games. We got the doubleheader against the Mets on Saturday, making up for that rain delay back in April. Last time we were up there in New York. And I believe there's one of those games that is still nobody is penciled in. And that would be my guess. It'll be Soroka. Unless he, just depending on I don't know when he is scheduled next to pitch. The earliest would be tomorrow in Gwinnett, I believe. They don't really show. It's hard to find the probable pitchers for AAA. I know tonight is Jared Schuster. Last night was A.J. Smith-Shawver. So he would be due to pitch soon unless they hold up and try to bring him up for a start this weekend, which I think would be the move because bullpen games have not worked out great for the Braves. Our bullpen is finally at full strength. We do have Dylan Lee had another scoreless inning in a rehab appearance. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back pretty soon, maybe even by this weekend. And got a stacked bullpen. We do have that. But I just don't like bullpen games because then you end up unless somebody goes really get a couple guys go really good multi-inning runs, you end up using way too much of your bullpen. And there's the staggering effect that leads in to the games coming up. and then like you're in a situation where like everybody in the bullpen's tired and nobody's you're limited on who is available to throw in the games after that bullpen game. So I would prefer getting Soroka up there if they can figure out a roster way to make it work, because I still think he deserves another shot. I don't, games like this showing Yonny Chirinos has some potential, but I wouldn't say he's like leaps and, not better than Soroka necessarily. Soroka, he still hasn't returned fully to that all-star form of when he first came up a couple years ago, but it's been a long journey, and the Braves are kind of, after saying they wouldn't yo-yo him, have done exactly that and just yo-yoed the hell out of him this year. And like I said, we'll just have to see what happens with that, because there is that one day that's open. I think it's the Saturday night game, I believe, because I think Strider is starting the opener as of now. So just have to keep an eye on that. It'll be a big one, It'd be nice to just put the Mets out there in misery. Just sweep them. That'd be great. Sweep them. Back-to-back 4 games here. We got the Pirates and then the Mets. So, the Braves. Let's look some more at this. Just going and going. Travis d'Arnaud. Of course, I said 3 doubles in this one. And getting on base in the ninth. And so he's part of that. He ends up getting pinch ran for. Actually, Nicky Lopez made his Braves debut in the ninth inning as a pinch runner and scored the tying run in this one. But before we could get to there, we had some more comebacking to do. So after those 3 homers by the Pirates in 2 innings, ending Yonny Chirinos' night, the 6th inning, though, Orlando Arcia with an answer of his own, literally matching Reynolds' home run foot for foot that he had just hit. 426 feet for both of them. And just like that, the Braves are, back within 2 runs after getting doubled up by the Pirates. So, Braves having to come back multiple times in this game. And they're able to do it. Helps, the 6th inning getting a couple runs across. Orlando Arcia, Matt Olson making history in the chillest way possible. Comes up with the bases loaded. I was like, oh man. Let's just get home run number 40 here in style. But, kind of boring. He just walks. But, hey, that's still an RBI. Still RBI number 100 on the season for Matt Olson. And fun fact there, ties an all-time Braves record for the fastest in franchise history to get to 100 RBIs. Doing it in game number 111, 111. And the guy he tied was a fella by the name of Wally Burger. Did it all the way, with an E, not a U, all the way back in 1935. Long ass time ago. And also, not only did he tie that Braves mark, but he set his own. Because this is the first time in Braves history. This is a team that's been around in one form or another for over 150 years. And Matt Olson is the first player ever in Braves history to have an RBI in 11 straight games, y'all. Just what a day. Just 1 of 3 in this one. But that walk doing some work there too. And not the most exciting way to get your 100th RBI and to make history, but that's how you do it. Good eye for Matt Olson and just the plate discipline that he has shown after early on in the year, leading the league in strikeouts. Like, he was striking out like crazy pace. But to turn that around in season and to hit home runs the way he hits home runs, but also like walk and not strike out at a ridiculous rate. He's like falling out of the top 10. Probably is out of the top 10 by now in strikeouts. Just because it's like great eye. And in this case, it brings us within 1 run. So, a grand slam would give us the lead. But, we still had some time. That's the thing. You don't have to. There's 9 innings in a Major League Baseball game. You ain't got to get it all back at once. But you can't, it's not usually a good idea to leave it all until the ninth, try to get it all there at the end. So the Braves just get a little bit at a time, bringing it within 1 run. So then when they come up in the 9th inning, they can take care of business, baby. And it was rough. They're facing David Bednar, really damn good closer for the Pirates coming into this game, 23 saves. And it wasn't looking good, or Matt Olson on Ozuna hitting into a fielder's choice. Matt Olson kind of getting stuck in a rundown between home and third. And I think once he realized he wasn't going to make it, he was just making sure Nicky Lopez could get to third. So at least there's like one guy closer to scoring. And of course, Nicky Lopez, we got him in that trade for Taylor Hearn, who we got in a trade for cash with the Rangers. So I think it was a great move getting Nicky Lopez as a utility infielder and, potential pinch runner. He hadn't had it at bat as a Brave. Well, I guess he did. No, yeah, he doesn't have it at bat. But pinch running for Travis in this one. And ends up scoring the tying run because next up, Kevin Pillar, who had pinch hit for Eddie Rosario in the sixth. He's kind of letting them know. He's like, hey, y'all, I'm ready to go. Like, he's taking some swings in the clubhouse. And he didn't necessarily expect them to say yes when he mentioned pinch hit. And be like, hey, you know what? Let's go for it. And you got to give Kevin Pillar credit. He's been around 11 seasons, played in World Series, played a lot of big games, and he's been a regular player, been a starter most of his career. So he's at that point. It's kind of an adjustment for him, getting used to not playing on a regular basis, just playing every couple days. Maybe coming in as a pinch hitter here and there, as a defensive replacement late, but not getting a whole lot of starts because Eddie Rosario has been pretty good, for the most part, and Brian Snitker doesn't like to change it up too crazily, unnecessarily. But Kevin Pillar, making a case to get more at bats, maybe split more time in there, and not just be like a righty-lefty split with Eddie. But also, you don't want to take too much away from Eddie because he can come through with some big-ass clutch hits too. So it's just nice. We got options on this team with Kevin and Eddie. So maybe if Ronald does need to take a day off, because I'm sure a lot of it with him will just depend on how he feels today. Brian Snitker not going to push it because there's a lot of times where like a small injury, you play with it, you can aggravate the hell out of that shit and make it way worse. So you definitely don't want to do that with your best player, the potential MVP of the National League, who's just having an incredible season. So you'd rather him have one game off here than end up missing a bunch of games down the line because you didn't play it careful. But hey, if he's ready to go, he's ready to go. Put him out there. But it's just not, I got some options. You got Eddie, and Kevin, who both could start out there with Michael Harris, and Forrest Wall, who you can use some, especially as a pinch runner. It'd be nice to see him get that first career major league hit. Maybe, so that one, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the lineup. Maybe he'll pinch hit for somebody. But either way, I wouldn't be too worried, just glad that X-rays are negative. And it'd be great to see Kevin Pillar in there, driving, and this one is 1 of 3, and really making the one count, as I like to say, driving in Lopez. Just like that, the game is tied up. All this is happening, remember, with 2 outs. The Braves were literally down to their last out in this game. And a lot of times you get to that second out in the final inning, you're like, fuck, here it goes. Especially the way it happened. Matt Olson in that rundown. You're like, oh no, that was out number 2. Here we go. About to lose another one. But not to be, man. Kevin Pillar tying it up, and then Orlando Arcia coming up to bat next. Had the solo home run. Number 12 of the season for him. Ends up 3 of 5 in this game with 3 RBI. And the homer was great. That was essential. But it wouldn't matter as much if you didn't come down in the 9th inning, sending Kevin Pillar and Marcell Ozuna home. Tie broken. 8-6 Braves. And that's how it would stay. Raisel Iglesias coming on. Allowing a 2-out single and a walk. Just getting you a little nervous because that brings the winning run, the winning hitter to the plate. Potentially, if they hit a home run, it's a walk-off. It's like Zoolander and Hansel. It's a fucking walk-off, y'all. But not, Raisel Iglesias is like, no, sir. I will be your hero, baby. Forces a ground out. And I love whatever Raisel is, just arms up in the air. It's a beautiful thing. One of my favorite things to see as a Braves fan, other than Ronald stealing your homer and your fun stuff like that, you got to see Raisel, because he only does it when we win. Save number 21 on the season for Raisel Iglesias. He's been on a tear. Kirby Yates gets the win to stay undefeated this season. He is 6-0 5 straight scoreless appearances for Kirby Yates. They're kind of struggling, getting back, a little comfortable coming back. Last year he began, coming back from the Tommy John surgery. So to see him just keep getting better as the year goes on. But great time to keep getting better, It's August, next thing you know, it's September, and then it's October, and it gets serious. So it is nice to have this strong bullpen we got going right now. Like, scoreless 8th, man, getting the win. 5 straight appearances, not giving up a run. It's a beautiful thing. Also in this one, Joe Jimenez and Brad Hand pitching scoreless innings. Both of those, Brad Hand, a very recent acquisition, getting him at the trade deadline out of the Rockies there. And then Joe in the offseason, getting him in a trade. Knowing he was coming back from injury, the patience they had. The Braves just seem to have a really good scouting department. Because remember Eddie Rosario, the year we won that World Series, he was on the injured list when the Braves traded for him. So it made it seem like people were like, that was so many lopsided trades, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, nobody thought Eddie was going to do that. I mean, other than, I guess, the Braves to a certain degree, but even them, I don't know if they knew. They're like, hey, we're going to trade for this guy, and he's going to be the NLCS MVP. He's going to win 2 games for us on a walk-off in that series. They didn't know that. But obviously, they seem like they see things that, maybe other teams and other coaching staffs don't see. Because you get a guy in there, and then they just play better. And Jimenez looked at some point early on, we're like, why did we trade for this guy? But just keep, just like Kirby, coming back from the injuries, man, just keeps getting better. It's just, great win for the Braves. We felt like we really needed this one. Because, 3 game losing streak isn't much. But, you don't want to get too far past that. Because you don't want to show too many signs of weakness. Because, you want to, when it shakes in the armor. This is about the time to work them out and figure out where you might have a little weakness. But the Braves, man, they're finding a way. Not having the best, performance from their starting pitchers lately. Spencer Strider, which I feel he'll bounce back. It was the worst start of his career, probably. Definitely this season. And I believe he will bounce back. Have a strong start. I think he got kind of caught up in his own head a little bit in that one. And Bryce Elder, some of that is just the return to the mean. He was outperforming himself, really. He was pitching like an ace. And no offense to Bryce Elder, I'm sure he realizes he's not an ace. He's not. I think he's a really solid rotation piece, but he's not an ace. He was pitching like an ace, so that was going to regress a little bit, realistically. But I still think he is a solid rotation guy that, especially now that we got Max, kind of takes some of the pressure off of Bryce, maybe, who will be on the mound tonight. Max Fried, so, hopefully we'll see more. Last time, that was the last quality start we had from a starter, was when he shut out the Cubs 8-0 with some help from the bullpen, obviously, but still. That, hopefully we'll see some more of that tonight. And hope the Braves just get, the last couple games, it wasn't like they were losing bad. They were just missing opportunities, leaving guys on base. And in this case, we left some guys on base, but we could afford it because we had 5 more hits, 14-9 on the hits compared to the Pirates. So sometimes you can make up for that when you have those situations where you're leaving too many guys on base. The cure for that is just put more guys. Just have a lot of guys on base can give you a little more leeway. Yeah, the Braves left 11 people on, 4 of 15 runners in scoring position. Normally, when the other team does better, 7 of 6, only 7 left on base. But you also look at it, 1 of 6 with runners in scoring position. So they're just getting way less opportunities. So it's something you got to give the Braves credit for. They will put people in scoring position. So sometimes, you're going to have, more chances, but the more people you put in scoring position, the better position you put yourself in. Even if you whiff on some of those opportunities, at least you got those opportunities. That means next time somebody's on base, you're probably going to do it. And let's see some other random notes from this game. Let's see. I'm trying to see what I've missed. But I thought it was funny, that too, and looking at it, how often is Michael Harris, probably got to be the first time Michael Harris II has been intentionally walked from that 9 spot. Because normally he's got Ronald Acuna Jr. hitting right after him, and ain't nobody trying to face Ronald Acuna Jr. instead of Michael Harris II. And if anything, Ronald Acuna Jr. is the guy that's going to usually sometimes get intentionally walked. But the thing with this lineup, you honestly don't really want to intentionally walk anybody usually, because you got to think normally you're going from Harris to Acuna, Acuna to Ozzie, Ozzie to Austin, Olson, Murphy or Dardo. Like everybody in this lineup can fucking hit the ball. It's like pick your poison. One way, you're gonna die. Not literally, but like baseball metaphorically kind of way. Damn, sometimes So, but that of course was when Forrest Wall, who had replaced Ronald Acuna, was up to bat next, who struck out, and that was it for the inning. Would have been nice to see him add on one, for his first major league hit. But I think it's coming. I think kid will get it. And he's still like just a really fast dude, man. Like that was his main skill, was stealing them bases in Gwinnett. And so he's a nice little piece to have. You wouldn't mind having Sam Hilliard, but Sam Hilliard, he's back with the team, but not back with the team because he went to Gwinnett for a rehab appearance and seemed to re-aggravate his injury. Like his ankle was sore again. So definitely not good for him. Like we hadn't seen, he didn't play a lot, but he's still like a nice option you had that you knew you could plug in there in the outfield if you needed him to. And could come up with a clutch hit from time to time, but not looking good for his season. And maybe so Forrest Wall could potentially play his way in to some opportunities. And that'd be nice to see him get a chance to do that. See what's going on. So tonight, the Braves in Game 3 of this 4-game series. It'll be Max Fried going up against Quinn Priester. And ERA, shows we should win. It would be in our favor. Max is 1.69 and Priester 8.69. So he's been kind of pitching out of the bullpen. It looks like he only has 19 innings pitched. But you can't read too much into that because look what happened to Spencer Strider the other day. And I was like, that pitching matchup looks like it should obviously work in our favor. And then Spencer went out there and kind of sucked it up. But hey, it happens. It happens, dude. I think he'll bounce back. I would expect him to have a great start next time up. Same with Bryce Elder, who will be pitching the final game of this series. Is that Friday? That's just weird seeing this. No, tomorrow. Sorry, I'm looking at it. I'm like, wait. This 4-game series threw me off. So, we got that game tonight, then an early game to finish the series tomorrow before we travel to Flushing for 4 games against the Mets. And, fuck the Mets, right? We got 20 games more ahead of them win-wise. We should whoop their ass. Let's take 3 or 4, baby. Oh, let's sweep them. Sweep them up. But the Braves, of course, still first place, still the best record in Major League Baseball. Now they have the Orioles lost last night, so the Braves on their own with the most wins, 71-40 on the season, 10.5 up on the Phillies. Both of us have won 6 of our last 10. So you kind of watch out for the Phillies. They surpassed the Marlins. Marlins are sitting like 14 back. They've lost 7 of the last 10. The Mets have lost 8 of the last 10. But the Braves, the division's the Braves to lose. I don't see them losing the division. Just be like, let's avoid what happened last year where we won the division and then the fucking Phillies beat us as a wild card team. But I also think a lot of the problem last year is the Braves let themselves get in a hole early, so they had to I think they expended so much energy digging out of that hole and catching up and then surpassing the Mets in the division standings. And it just took a lot out of them. And so when they got to the playoffs, they were tuckered out. Plain turd. Turd is a turd. And I think that affected them. So this year, they've just been number one, pretty much from the get-go. From very early in the season, they've been one of the best teams. So, I feel like you're just kind of cruising along at this point. And they're putting, using energy, putting effort in. But it's like you're not having to fight because it just feels like a lot of it is coming more natural than last year where they were just fighting to catch up. And then by the time they did that, just so much energy went into that. Kind of drained them. So maybe it'll be better for them going, having a more comfortable season. And then by the time they get to the playoffs, maybe, they're ready to go, ready to kick some ass. Next best team in the National League is the Dodgers out west, who are on a 3-game winning streak, won 8 of their last 10. They're still 5.5 games behind the Braves, but they're 5 games up on second place in their division, the Giants. Arizona has not won a game since the trade deadline. After, they were the surprise first place team for a while and just falling in and out of contention with you. Sort of an Alicia Keys improv there. God, Alicia Keys is fine. And super talented. Side note, right? Yeah, Arizona is now 10 games behind the Dodgers. They've lost 8 of their last 10, and they've lost all 7 games since the trade deadline. If the Padres weren't losing so many damn games, they would have caught up, and they'd be third place by now. But they've lost 3 in a row, so they're still 12 games behind the Dodgers. The Brewers are a game and a half up on the Cubs and the Reds. Pirates with the loss, they fall to 9 games back. Rangers are still 3 games up on Houston in the Battle of Texas out there in the American League West. They have won 8 in a row. Astros themselves have won 2 in a row, but everybody's streaking in the American League West. The Mariners have won 6 in a row. So the best two active winning streaks by far are both in the same division. The Rangers and the Mariners. So the Mariners are trying to gain ground, but it ain't happening because Texas just keeps Texasing. But they're 6.5 back. And, if they weren't on their own little winning streak, they'd be falling back to like 10 back. So good for them. Love to see Julio Rodriguez had a great catch in that game. Was it last night? So good for them, man. I want to see the Mariners in the playoffs. I wouldn't mind seeing the Padres make the playoffs in the National League, but I'd definitely rather see the Mariners than the Astros or the Rangers, especially the Astros. They just won. Much respect to Dusty Baker, but come on, y'all just won. Go home. And in the American League Central, the first place Twins are finally ahead of 2 teams, not just one. They're ahead of 2 teams in the American League East. There's been a lot of this season where the last place team in the American League East, whether it's the Red Sox like it is now or the Yankees like it previously was, that team was at the last place team in the East was ahead of the first place team in the American League Central. But the Twins are, winning, not winning the last game. They lost last night, but they've won 6 of the last 10. The only team other than the last place Royals to have a winning record in their last 10 games in that division. But it helps because the Yankees and the Red Sox both been losing lately. The Yankees won yesterday, but they've lost 6 of their last 10. The Red Sox have lost 8 of their last 10. So falling out of that contention while the Orioles and Rays keep doing their thing. The Rays and the Orioles have both won 7 of their last 10 games at the top. And the bad news for the Rays, one of their best pitchers, Shane McClanahan, whatever his name is on my fantasy team. Looked like it might be just kind of a minor injury. But the way they were talking, even though it was a 15-day injury list, you could tell there was an extra level of concern. They just got the bad news that it looking like his season's probably done. They're going to get one more opinion. Going to go check with a different surgeon. I think it's Monday. And so, bad news for the Rays. They've been having a lot of injuries, but still finding ways to win games. But looking like the Orioles, the team to be in the American League East right now. I think what else going on in the world of sports? Of course, I think the Jets coming in to start practicing with the Panthers in anticipation, in preparation for the Panthers' first preseason game where Bryce Young will get some action. That game is going to be on Saturday afternoon. And they did release a depth chart that has rookie Jonathan Domingo ahead of third-year player Terrence Marshall Jr. Kind of surprising, but not in a lot of ways if you've been keeping up with a lot of the stuff coming out of Panthers camp. Like Bryce Young obviously is impressing his teammates. You're hearing a lot of rave reviews from him. But not getting lost in that, you got to remember, too, you're hearing a lot of good things about Jonathan Mingo, and he seems like not just another rookie. So when you get 2 rookies that come in ready to play, especially you got a quarterback and a receiver that can develop that chemistry from the start, and they coming out seem like they already got some of that. That to me is going to be the thing I will be looking for in Saturday's game, because I believe they're probably not going to play a lot, but I think we're going to see a series where maybe we get a chance to see the young and Mingo connection. And also one other interesting note before I'll close it up today on talk about the Panthers real quick. Raheem Blackshear, who I thought was underrated last year, but at times underutilized. Like, he really fast, kind of like third back last year. He is the front runner, it looks like, for punt and kick return duties. So good for him, because he's out of Virginia Tech. One of two Virginia Tech rookies we had last year that just real fast. We also had Amir Barno on defense who would come off the edge. Still got a lot, some growing to do as a player, but has that raw speed that you just can't really teach. And it's nice when you have that coming off the edge, getting after quarterback, and having that in Blackshear as a returner, and also as an option coming out the backfield. Maybe getting some of those opportunities there behind Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders. So some things to keep an eye on, but for now we'll just be watching our beloved Braves as they take on the Pirates, try to get the upper hand in this series. Game 3 today. Let's do it, boys. Let's go, Braves. Man, I hope y'all have an awesome day. Check back in tomorrow. We'll talk about tonight's game. We'll see how Max Fried looks in game 2 of his return from the injured list. Be really sweet having another credible performance, because that was the last quality performance we had from one of our starting pitchers, and damn it, y'all, we could use it. Nice to see them get back right. And eventually we'll get back right, maybe, Kyle Wright, that is. But hey, man, hope you'll have a great day. Come back tomorrow, like I said, for more of your new favorite podcast, Babble and Brooks. Peace out.